Hello, my name is Edgar and I work in environmental education. I do research in environmental education. This is kind of the things that people ask, what do you do, who are you? But this is only my name and some of the things that I do. I think we as individuals are a little bit more complex, and I want to tell you a little bit of my story. And this has been a journey that it's better rephrased as my own environmental education. And it has been tricky in between theory and practice. I grew up in Mexico City, a city a little bit that constrains. I never really liked it, to be honest. The minute I could, I just fly away from it. That was when I went to study my degree in marine biology in this small city named La Paz in the peninsula of Baja California. Well, studying marine biology from a big city boy, exposing yourself to the ocean and to all these wonders. This was my first time being on an island. This is around 1998. There was no digital cameras, so this is a slide. Then I started realizing that I could take pictures that were significant for me because of the connection that I was feeling with these images. So my career in marine biology gave me the opportunity to learn from the field. Here we are, this is my group using methodology typically used by biologists to learn from the environment, counting the number, diversity of animals and plants living on the environment. In this case, they were algae. But at the same time, I feel I had this dual life because I once went into a sea kayaking trip and then I just fell so much in love with it. And then I thought, yeah, cool, sea kayaks, they're amazing, that's what I want to do. And then I got this job about being a tour guide on these kayaks. After a while, I realized that what I really, really like was just being in between those mangrove forests or being exposed to see weird fishes or whales and dolphins, which they're always shocking. I was around this beautiful scenery. This is another island, another print, still not digital pictures at the time. But then, having this dual life, I was able to get involved with different organizations, and one of them was Ecology Project International. By then, I already finished my degree. I could work as a professional and leading expeditions. And this is a digital picture by now. This is around 2006, 2007. The project was about exposing youngsters from the community, from La Paz, to their natural resources that they haven't before. Here we are in this boat doing or participating in the national census of whales and dolphins. So it was quite significant for the students creating science, being exposed to the scientific research, but actually using that data for an important reason. I did my master's with that. I thought this is perfect example. So what I'm going to do, thinking like a biologist, I'm going to have the group that I will expose to the environment, and I know they're going to learn better, and the one that it's going to be that will stay just enclosed in a room and with 4 walls and a roof, and see what's the difference. Clearly, I found what I already experienced. They were learning better, let me put it this way, in the field. Better because of a connection they were creating with the environment. Interesting things, some of the knowledge, the detailed knowledge, it would seem to be a little bit better with the students in the classrooms. And I thought it was fascinating, but then I read a paper, something about action. And I thought, yeah, like these trips that I do, there's a sort of action. But I kept asking myself, what does it take for a person to take action? I don't know, I kept that in my mind, finished my master's degree, had the opportunity to participate in this amazing project, Sea Turtle Project Conservation from them. Working with these people fishermen that were setting up, during the summertime, they were setting up these long nets to catch these big fish. Just look at the size. They were probably this long and delicious. They're a delicatessen. They're quite well paid. But the problem was that these big nets were big enough to catch sea turtles. They got entangled, they drowned, and then what we found as researchers were the dead caprases along the beach because they got stranded. It was a multi or transdisciplinary research because we had a team doing some research in fisheries, we had a team doing some research in the biology of the turtle, because it's an interesting one that migrates to Japan and Mexico. And my section was on environmental education. Without really thinking of it, action kept going on my decisions. And then we organized activities and actions. For instance, this is a picture of the kids gathering up in the central plaza of this small town and doing hand crafts, doing always little things that was representative of a connection of environment. Then later that night, this is a typical Saturday, later that night we gather, well, the youth usually hang out in this plaza, some adults, and then we invited researchers from La Paz to give open talks for absolutely everyone. And indeed, the next day, we invited anyone who would like to go across this lagoon into the island, and we used that big truck, the blue one, to put everyone on top of it and do like a 10 kilometers visit. And then we found that the dead turtles here and there, but the project also put all the turtles together to create this experience of, you know, it was a shocking experience to see that many turtles in front of you. And then we had fun at the beach. The end of the season was with this Proud campaign. The whole thing was the Proud campaign, and we finished with the Sea Turtle Festival. All this project lasted for 8 years. It started to become a traditional festival. They had already a gray whale festival because it's an ecotourism income for them. Then after some years, we got some problems because we want to turn the market into a green market using rods instead of the long nets. That was messing up with those of who was controlling that market. And at the end, finished. We got kicked out almost from the community. We experienced a little bit of violence. And it's not working any longer today. Then at the same time, I had the opportunity to start a new adventure. This is 2010, when I went to Australia to do my PhD, which I'm still finishing. This is my last point in it. And I kept that idea of action in my mind. And then I read and I found this approach in environmental education, which is about action competence. Then I love it because it was about integrating experiences, reflections, knowledge, visions for the future, the action taking, and the connections among all of this. This is the framework from Chris Aim, who's part of my committee in New Zealand. And I thought it was great. Okay, then I participated in this amazing experience that my supervisor had. The Mexico-Alaska Youth Interchange, 2 different communities in Mexico, pointed in the map. And then we travel all the way to Alaska. This is a little bit weird of a map. Down here is Mexico, the 2 communities. This is north, this is the United States, this is Canada, and this region here is Alaska. And we spend most of our time in Barrow, 3 weeks. And there we were, with this group of indigenous heritage students experiencing, learning from science like oceanography, archaeology, anthropology, visiting heritage centers, the forest, and learning about them, learning from people, the languages, their cultures. And we also visited an ecological an organic farm, which brought us lots of insight and reflections about what sustainability is, or how does it act. So basically we were learning science with scientists and traditional values and knowledge from the people. Then I came back to Mexico, continued my research in the communities. I was wondering if this thing of action competence would spread among friends and family of these students. And that's part of my research. But let me go back to this framework and look at it. Isn't it a little bit just square-like? Just probably like what I did in my master's, a little bit of this approach of quantitative. And then I say, no, I'm not happy with this. My approach now is more qualitative. I want to understand the values of people and what does it take a person to take action. And then I said, this drawing doesn't really work for me, so bear with me. I start sketching and I say it should be a little bit more spiral, it should move somewhere else. The action competence in the middle, I don't like it, I like the experience. And then I thought, oh my God, the experience must look like a cylinder, right? So just imagine a cylinder, that's my perspective here, and then it grows somewhere, and then I connected with all of these things. And now if I turn around this cylinder, like make a crosscut, and I look through, and then yes, it's messy. That's my brain as well. But let me go slowly with it. Not action competence in the center, because it's an utopian concept. Individual is in the center. When you talk about education, individual is connected with other people, with family and friends, and they affect him or her, and this individual affects the friends and family as well. He also, or she also has a worldview by experiencing other experiences, rich in knowledge, rich in emotions. And this is the concept of this flow in time and space, is how I define experience. Now, to make it an educative experience, you have to have this reflective, critical thinking core in it. So that's what this spiral and circle represents. But it's also important to acknowledge and create visions for the future, new ideas for the future, aspirations, imagination, the use of the creativity. And here are all these elements connected. Good. But again, to make it an educative experience, as my theory says this time, we have to connect all these aspects, and I call them reflective milestones. And please check that all the aspects from that first framework that I show you are involved in here, the 6 aspects, like knowledge, which has its own methodology in itself to understand the complexity in it. Learning to take action, you have to act. And being a democratic, educative perspective, participation is important. So taking action takes the participants to decide on what actions to take. Emotions are the links that connects us with the environment, with ourselves. So it's as important as the other 2 elements. And one that I just found so interesting, and I think the rest of my journey will go through, is the body. Our body is the interface between us and the environment, between me and you. I can touch you, I can see you, and all this is because of my body, and it's a place of research. All together and with a reflective process. That's why I call them reflective milestones. Now we place them in this image. We color it a little bit to make it nice. It's mostly purple because the body is the one that is experiencing in the cylinder, but it also rich with oranges and greens from the knowledge and emotions. And then one last thing, connect everything. Very important to connect all these countries, all these cultures, all these values, and all these elements that I'm talking about. Just to place it as the way I want to publish this framework, as an evolution from the previous one. And this is the theory that I'm creating from my own experience. These will be the result of my PhD. And then I believe that every living story can create a living theory. And then I would like to ask you, what is your story? Which is your living story? You can create theory of it, valuable theory, that you can share with others the way I'm doing it with you, because I want this to be used. It doesn't have to exactly be the same for you, but it might be significant. So you can recreate your world using your own theories from your own living stories. Thank you very much.